It's very interesting. I was A person is made up of what they are, but your whole life is in you. It's not like you pass along. That's why sometimes you have these flashbacks of traumatic events that happen when you're young and they still bother you because there's a 13-year-old in you, there's a 6-year-old in you, there's a 5-year-old. It's all there. It's very interesting. Uh, I was wondering today why I was so emotional, and it made no sense to me. I hear him Yerushalayim Kodesh. The fact that we're getting bombed, Rabbi Avi will tell you, it's like you don't feel it. It's surreal. And the answer is it's the yard site of Rav Moshe Feinstein. It's Rav Moshe's yard site. Rav Moshe, Marinu Harav, Rav Moshe ben Harav Rav David. Um, the life has not been the same since Rav Moshe died. Moshe, the amount of machlokes that increased in Klal Yisrael as a result of Batira of Moshe is it's you can't be Messiah. You can't evaluate it. It was amazing. He was the final stop. He was the final stop. Right? No one was carrying in an air when Moshe was alive. And the Shain, right? Moshe and the machlokes, the different piskei halachas, the halachas, halacha psak halacha went to Eretz Yisrael. Before that it was Rav Moshe. I'll just tell you one story. I'll tell you one story. And I'm putting on tape for a reason. Rav Label Katz used to give, he used to give Chasanim Shiurim. Very, very, you do it. Rav Label Katz, the people go to him for the Chasan Shmuz. And he would give, not the Shmuz, he would give Shiurim in marriage. A week before a Chasana, a boy tells him, Rebbe, I have a problem. He goes, what's your problem? He goes, I'm a mamzer. So the Rabbi looked and goes, what? So he goes, my mother was previously married. She only got a civil divorce. She never received a get from her first husband. She remarried and she became a Balish Truva. And I'm a product of the second marriage. And since she didn't receive a divorce from the first marriage, she has the luck of an Ashes Ish. And therefore, we know Chayve Krisis and Mrs. Besdin is a mamza. Label Katz did not know what to do, but he did know one thing. We got to go to Rav Moshe. Went to Rav Moshe. Can you imagine? This guy walks in, his life is over. And Rav Moshe starts questioning him. And he's questioning, I think they consulted with the mother, exactly where the mother got married, which town, exactly what year. Rav Moshe Paskin, that there were no kosher Edom at that wedding. She was the Balish Tshuva, there was no kosher Edom, so the first marriage was never a marriage. Memela, you didn't need a get. And this boy is not a mamzer. If you would have given a person $1 billion, $1 trillion, you couldn't go ahead and you couldn't be saved like that. It's not possible. Not possible. You needed someone like Rav Moshe to have the guts, to have the shoulders, in Yiddish, the bright the places, to go ahead and say that and do that. It's just amazing. That was a Moshe. This is just one small instance of Rav Moshe. How many Maisa do we don't know about that Rav Moshe? I was zeicher to see him. I was zeicher to get a brach from him. I shared with you, and anyone who saw him was a different person as a result. And it was a loss. Rabbi Yashiv said, Meir Zlotowitz walked into Rabbi Yashiv, and Yashiv stood up for Meir Zlotowitz, and Meir Zlotowitz was very uncomfortable. So Rabbi Yashiv said to him, I'm not standing up for you. I'm standing up for your Rebbe. He goes, and you should know your Rebbe would have been a Gadol Hador 10 generations ago. Said Rabbi Zlotowitz, in the time of the Chassam Sofer, said Rabbi Yashiv, in the time of the Chassam Sofer, he would have been from the Gedolei Hador. That was Rav Moshe. That's what, he was out of his door. Rav Moshe was just not in this generation. He was out of his door. Okay, so we're learning Lilu Nishmas, Marinu Harav, Rav Moshe, Ben Marinu Harav, Rav David. The Shama should have an Aliyah. Okay, we're up to Daf Nun, Amid Aleph. They're 4 lines from the top. Very, very nice, nice Gemara. So the Mishnah had said on Daf Mem Tes that if you didn't bring a korban, let's go back to the Mishnah because the Gemara is going to shtel sich on the Mishnah. The Mishnah on Daf Mem Tes, right before it gets wide. Le'ikriv keves b'boiker, yakrivu bein rabayim. If you didn't bring it in the morning, it doesn't mean you shouldn't bring the afternoon. You bring one in the afternoon, right? Amr Rav Shimon, Masai, when's that? Bisman shahaya anusim, but you were an honest, like shaig again. Avalim hoya mezidim, if they did it b'mezid, v'lo yakrivu keves b'boiker, lo yakrivu bein rabayim. You didn't bring in the morning, you can't bring in the afternoon. Like tiru k'tayris b'boiker, yaktiru bein rabayim, but k'tayris is different. If you didn't bring in the morning, you could bring it in the afternoon. You can burn it in the afternoon. Amr Rav Shimon, v'kula hoysa kreva bein rabayim. Right? They wouldn't bring the half in the morning. They bring the whole kit and caboodle in the afternoon. Which makes no sense whatsoever. It flows in. You tell me, and then what is going on? Okay, we'll get to that. So now we know enough information to go ahead and begin to share. Let's see. Nun Amid Aleph. Lo yakrivu keves b'boiker. You bring in the afternoon. Amrav Shimon, v'kula hoysa kreva ben abayim, and all of the ketayris was brought in the afternoon. Sheimechanchim es mizbeach hazav elav ketayris hasamen. Frag the Gemara. Chinuch man de choshmai. Who in the world is speaking about chinuch? What are you talking about? Where's your chinuch? What's going on? It says we're missing words. Guys, now remember, fellas, our girsa that we have in our Mishnah is if you didn't bring it in the morning, you bring it in the afternoon, right? You could bring it in the afternoon, correct? Now, Bachiktani, lo yakrivu keves ba'boiker, lo yakrivu bein arbayim. You can't bring any. You guys are here? This is Chsui Mechsura. Look, our Mishnah says if you brought it didn't bring it in the morning, you could bring it in the afternoon. Here it's saying if you didn't bring it in the morning, you don't bring anything. You don't bring anything. B'medav amamurim. That's when don't you bring anything? When the mizbeach had never been used before, it's a brand new mizbeach. If nischanech mizbeach, then you do bring in the afternoon. So now we know very good. This is what was missing, and now we fill in the gaps to go ahead and explain why you bring in chinuch. Because we had a girsa, if you don't bring it in the morning, you don't bring it in the afternoon. When is that? When the mizbeach, when the nischanech. Had it been nischanech, then you would bring it in the afternoon, and that's our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is speaking about after the chinuch. Amrav Shimon Masai, bisman shoyanusim, that you've been honest. Oishoygin, aval im hoyim mezidim, lo yikrivu keves baboike, lo yakrivu ben abayim. However, even if it had been nischanech, if they were mazid and they didn't bring it, then you don't bring it in the afternoon. The Gemara is going to ask, just because these guys are shuld, why should we be missing b'mvatel the mitzvah svat the korban tamid shel ben abayim? Again, that's what Shimon's saying. Even when the mizbeach was nischanech, if they want mizidim, you don't bring it. Okay, anyway, continuing on, Baruch Hashem, we're filling in the gaps. You don't bring it, and we conclude if you did go ahead and not bring it in the morning, you would bring it in the afternoon. Now we just filled in the whole Mishnah. We filled in the whole thing. Now, Minohani Mili, how do you know, going back over the Mishnah, as according to the Chsoi Mechsra, how do you know if you didn't bring it in the morning and it had been nischanech, you don't bring it in the afternoon, right? Again, if it's not nischanech, you don't bring it. How do you know that? Minani Mili, the Ton Rabbanon, it says, V'esakeves hasheni tase ben abayim. Sheni ben rabayim, v'loi rishon ben rabayim. It has to be the second one, not the first. In other words, if it hadn't been the nischanech and you're bringing the boker in the afternoon, that's not the sheni. That's a rishon. V'esakeves hasheni ben abayim. It's got to be a sheni. It's got to be one was brought before, and you didn't have one brought before. You didn't have one brought before. Okay, look at Rashi. V'lo rishon ben abayim. Shem lo yakrivu ba'boker, lo yakrivu ben abayim. You don't bring the korban. The hachi midrash kra. Here's the way you dash in the pasuk. Im es hakeves echot taseh ba'boker. If you had brought one in the morning, Then the second one is mukhshar, prepared to bring in the afternoon. And if you didn't bring one in the morning, loy. That's not. And this is speaking about when you be mischanit the mizbeach. Back in the Gemara, the merdavar mamurim. When is this halacha? Shaloi nischanach hamizbeach. Because this pasuk was speaking about chinuch. The pasuk, that pasuk. Avon nischanach hamizbeach. But if the mizbeach had been used before, afil rishon bein abayim, then you could bring what? The afternoon carbon. Then it's not. Then you're not limited to ves sheni. The sheni is only after had that been mischanich. Once in this chanich, you could bring the second one in the afternoon. So now we explain the first clause of the Ksuri Nechsera. When do we? If you didn't bring in the morning, you didn't bring in the afternoon. Why? Because it has to be what? The sheni. And if you didn't bring it and the mizbeach was never used, it's the rishon. However, had it been the chanich, then we're not limited to the sheni, right? Then it could be a feel of the rishon. Amr of Shimon, Emasai, Bisman Shaya Nusim Ayshaygin. Avam hoyu mezidim lo yakrivu keves baboiker lo yakrivu ben rabayim. But if you're amazed, you don't do it. That's what again. This is what the chsurim echsura. Aval lo yaktiru ketaris baboiker yaktiru ben rabayim. Going back on fellas, if they were mazed and they didn't bring it in the morning after the mizbeach had been nischanich, you don't bring it in the afternoon. V'chi kahanim chatu mizbeach batel. Just because the Chahanim were what? They were chayta. You guys, you have a certain mishma, right? Every mishma had Bati Avais. They're going ahead and they're going in and doing the job, right? Now, they were shuld. They didn't do it. So the Mizbeach should suffer as a result. It's entitled to what? It's carbon tamid. What does tamid mean? Yeda tug. Right, Kenny? Yeda tug. Every day. Yeah, it means every day. So now, just because had they not been mazid, you would have brought it. Now they're mazidim, you don't bring it. Why should the mizbeach suffer? Why should Klal Yisrael lose the schus of the carbon tamid? Guys, the carbon tamid was mechaper and averis. The carbon tamid every day you brought the carbon tamid was mechaper and averis. It's an amazing thing. Rav Blumenprinz Zatzal from Far Rockaway came in. The girls in Prospect Park said we say every day, right? We said they say the birchas HaTorah, they say the brachas. And after the brachas, we go ahead, we say the carbon, Tzaves B'nei Yisrael, Matlemes Carbon Ilachmi, we say it. Why? Because it's Mechape every single day. And that was Psak. So now the question is, so why do we suffer? It doesn't mean that it's batal. Lo yakrivu hein, avlachem yakrivu. You know what it means? If they're mezidim and they don't bring the morning, they can't bring it in the afternoon. But other Kohanim could. That mishma, that but they couldn't because they were mezidim. Guys, it's a kanas. You were mezidim. You didn't bring it in the morning. Guess what? So it's not pshat. It wouldn't be brought. It wouldn't be brought by these mezidim, but it would be brought, right? It would be brought by these people who are mezid. It wouldn't be brought, but it would be brought. Geschmack. So again, going over the brisa. If you don't bring in the morning, you don't bring it in the afternoon, is speaking where what the Mizbeach had not been Nischanech yet. And therefore, it's not the Sheni. Had the Mizbeach been Nischanech, then you do bring it, right? But if the Mezid, they don't bring it, but other Kanim do. However, by the Ketairis, you would bring it in the afternoon. If you didn't bring it in the morning, you'll bring it in the afternoon. Let's explain that. Why is that different than what? Than the Oila. Lo yaktibu ketoris baboiker yaktiru bein rabayim. The kiven lo shchichi, since it's not common, fellas, you only bring it twice a day. You only bring the ketoris twice a day. Now, what will you ask me? The carbon tamid is also only twice a day. What's the answer? You know how many other oilers can be brought during the day? Any yukkel is going to bring in a dava. He's going to bring a carbon oil or a shlamim. So in other words, good the tamid is twice a day, but the shame oil is not. The shame oil is not. That's as I said Rashi. Mashenkin the ketoris is what is limited to ketoris. Ume'atra. In addition, you don't have to worry about them being what lazy. Guys, the ketoris made you wealthy. The ketoris made you wealthy. So therefore, the Kahanim are definitely going to take care of it. Chaviv lahu, it's chaviv, v'loi pasha, and they won't be pasheya. Let's look at Rashi, the last wide line, the first wide line. Lishnachrina, loishchicha bechad gavra. It's not shaykh to one person. Kidamina mesechta yuma, me oilam loishona adam ba. What does shaykh mean? That the Keturis is not shaykh to one individual. Because since it made you wealthy, they didn't go ahead and limit it to one guy. They would always, remember, they said the pious, whoever hadn't gone ahead and done it should join the lottery. But had you done it already, you didn't join that lottery. You didn't join that lottery. Let's see, Taisus, the main reason that they didn't knas is because it's not shchiach. To go ahead, it's not common. The Beperik Beis the Yuma Muchach Mikra Dichsiv the Kolol Al Mizbechecha Baruch Hashem Cheloi the Oila Nami Ma'atra. So you see, if it's the time of what of wealth, an Oila also made you wealthy. The Oila also made you wealthy. So therefore, now you're telling me the Keturis made you wealthy. That's not the Ikar reason. The Ikar reason why that you can bring a Bein Abayim since it's not Shchiach, since it's not common. Very geschmack. Says the Gemara Vaita. We said that the Tanya Victorious, I skipped. Amr of Shimon, v'kula hoisa kreva ben Rabbayim, she'mechamchem es mizbech azov el Victorious Samim shal ben Rabbayim. So if you didn't bring in the morning, you brought it in the afternoon. But they used to bring half the Keturis in the morning and half the afternoon. If they didn't bring it in the morning, they brought the whole thing in the afternoon. Guys, if they didn't bring in the morning, they brought the whole thing in the afternoon. So the Gemara is mashma, and the reason why, because the chinuch it was of the Mizbeach Hazav was the afternoon. Aiva Tanya b'ketoris hasamim shel shachar, that the ikar what of the chinuch was the morning ketoris, not the afternoon. Says the Gemara Tanoihi, it's machlokes Tanoim. What's the ikar chinuch of the Mizbeach Hazav? Is it the afternoon or the morning? First price says the afternoon. The second one says morning. Rabbi mistaber k'madiyoma b'ketoris hasamim. It's mistaber to say like the Madiyoma says it's the afternoon. Shal ben Abayim. Dichsiv ba in the morning. Beitiu ves haneros. When you go ahead and you clean out the neros, yaktirena, you should be makter it. Now, what does cleaning out the neros have to do, guys, with you're discussing the burning of the ketoris? And now you're telling me what when you clean the neros? Either lav the ovid adlaka meurta, if you didn't go ahead and light it the night before, hatava b'tzafra mehecha. Where are you cleaning it out in the morning? So guys, if I'm cleaning out wicks in the morning, it must be in the night I lit it, correct? It must be at night I lit it. So very good. So I know that the menorah was lit at night and cleaned out in the morning, yes? What does that have to do with what? With the ketoris? So look at Rashi. Without Rashi, it makes no sense. Ilav the ovid me'urta, 3 lines down where it gets wide. Hadlaka mimai boil takin the safa. What would you have to go ahead and clean in the morning? Alma chinuch menorah ben Rabbayim. That the first menorah is used in the afternoon. The kivon the menorah nischancha be'erev. Since the menorah we know for sure was done in the evening. Kitoris nami tchilasa be'erev. The burning of the kitoris also was in the evening. Dichsiv, and this is the key, guys. Ubahales Aaron es haneros, when Aaron will lit the neros, bein harbayim yaktirena. When you did the menorah, what did you do? Yaktirena, you did the ketoris. So now that you've proven that the menorah was in the evening, therefore the ketoris also was in the evening. Because when you went ahead and lit the menorah, yaktirena, you burnt the ketoris. And Mamela, I know. Since the menorah is in the evening, why? Because the morning you clean it out in the morning. Memela says Abaye, it's more mistaber to say the chinuch of the Mizbeach Hazav was in the evening. If every Gemara was like this, I'm telling you, I'd sleep well. It's like it's a shmaka Gemara. Says the Gemara Vaita. Well, the Mandiyam Ketoris Samim Shal Shacher. What we have a Mandiyam who says that it's the morning. Where do you have the chinuch in the morning? It says the Mizbeach Gomam and Mizbeach Ha'olah. He learns that from the Mizbeach Ha'olah. Mala halam b'tamid shal shacher. Just like the chinuch of the Mizbeach Ha'olah is the tamid shal shachris. Afkan, so too by the Mizbeach Hazav The chinuch is Victorious Asam Shal Shachar. So in other words, we know Mizbeach and the Choishes, or the Mizbeach Adama, or the Mizbeach that Ha'oila was the morning, that was Mechanechet. So Mamela, if the morning Mizbeach was Mechanech, so to the Mizbeach Hazov was the morning was Mechanech. And therefore he held the morning as opposed to Manyamu who learned out from Menorah that it was the evening. So they have two different days. Now we said the Mishnah said, "V'loyas shulchan ela belechem apanim b'Shabbos." What was the chinuch of the lechem apanim b'Shabbos? Heshi, by the way, I didn't get a good answer to your question, Hesh. I didn't get a satisfactory answer to your question. Your question is stronger. Okay? Don't think I just I don't want you to think, Harold, I'm not thinking of you all the time. As the bombs are falling, I'm saying, I wonder how Hesh is doing. Now, to be mechanich the shulchan, again, the lechem apanim was put on Shabbos, right? The Musa they switched until then. Okay, ela bechol. Here is going to be a good question. Ela bechol chanuche hudeloi mechanich. In other words, it's not chinuch of the shulchan hakedushe mikdash, but it would be kodesh. Right? Guys, here's the diak. The chinuch takes place on Shabbos. Okay. But if you don't do it on Shabbos, it's not mechunach. Mashma, it's not mechunach, but there would be kedusha to lechem upon him. Now, I had a problem. Like, what's the purpose of, what do you mean, the chinuch? Isn't that goof what it is? Isn't the lechem upon him infused with the kedusha from what? From the shulchan? It's mashma. What's the Gemara's kasha over here? The Gemara is suggesting that even before it was a shulchan, it was kodesh. So I was thinking maybe like a shtickle briska Torah. Again, I'm not sure. This is all my yesh shtei dinim. You have a din of mizbeah of shulchan, and you have a din of klisharis. In other words, even before it was the shem shulchan that the lachem upon him has to be lefanai tamid, it had a din of a klisharis. Why do we know about a klisharis? That a klisharis is mekadesh kedushas haguf. So the Gemara is saying very geschmack. The Gemara is saying, good, it's not mechunach to be called the shulchan, that you would need lechem upon him on it all the time. But the lechem upon him you put on him would have kedushas hayom mitaris klisharis. Such a svara. That's a briska svara, the mechalik between the two. That, in other words, it has a shem klisharis, and klisharis gives the kedusha, but it doesn't have a shem shulchan. My nafkamina. I'm giving you a very nice nafkamina. The din in shulchan has to be lechem lefonei tamid. Has to be all the time, but it itself will be kaddish. However, the problem is we know it's not. Look at Rashi. It says Rashi hakedushe magdish lelechem im yastiruhu alav b'choil. If you put it on the mizbeach in the day not on Shabbos, it's kaddish bitmiyah. The Kaimelon the Perik Shtei Lechem. We're going to see 50 blot from now. 50 blot from now. I know. The Loi Mekadesh Lechem Ela B'Shabbos. Diktani Shafiluhu Ala Shulchan Yomim Rabim. Even if you put it on a Sunday or a Monday and it stays on there many, many weeks, Ein B'Kach Klum. It's not going to be Kodesh. The Loi Kiddush Loi Livsel B'Yaitza. V'Loi L'Shum Psul. Guys, listen to this. If you put it on a Sunday or a Monday or Tuesday, yes? If you put it on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and it stays on, even if it stays on Pia Shabbos, you would take it out, it won't be Yaitza. And we all by now we know Psul Yaitza is it has Kedushas Aguf, and then you go out. If it's not Psul Yaitza, obviously it doesn't have Kedushas Aguf. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, you're making a diak. It doesn't have chinuch, but it has kiddush. But we know it's not true. It doesn't have kiddush. I explained to you the svara. Right? I explained to you the svara. Why would you think it has kiddush? Is because it has klishares. For the Gemara, it can't be. And for the Gemara, back in the Gemara, he gufa kamash malon. The chinush the kiddush the shulchan b'Shabbos who that the chinuch and kiddush of shulchan is on Shabbos. perhaps, guys, perhaps, again, going along with my line of reasoning, that to give the kedusha to the lechem apanim, it has to have the same shulchan. To give the kedusha to the lechem aponim, it has to have the same shulchan, and until it gets the same shulchan, which is only on Shabbos. Again, only Shabbos can give it the same shulchan. So memela, if it doesn't have the same shulchan, good, you can call it klishares. But we know that what we know that we know that the mizbeach can infuse it with something that's unique. I'll give you a very nice reminder, fellas. You might remember this. Remember we spoke out. It says Hashulchan HaTohira. We said Tohira Mechaldeka Tameya. The Gemara asked the Kasha, what kind of Tameya? It's a Kli Eitz She'asur L'Nachas. It's a Kli Eitz that's not moved. And any Kli that's Asur L'Nachas is not Tameh. Why did we say? We said that they would bring it out. The oily regal would come out, and they bring out the oily regal, they bring out the Shulchan and show them. And the people would see the hot steam coming off it, right? So the Brisker Rav asked, why did you bring out the shulchan? Why don't you just bring out the lechem upon him? That's what he asked. And what was the answer? That the ness of the lechem upon him came machmas the shulchan. It wasn't hot without the shulchan. It's the shulchan that infused it with that ness, which is beautiful now with this pshat over here. I think it's beautiful. Ein achinami, it has klishares, it's kaddish, whatever. But to be called lechem upon him, to be psul yoitza, to be this kedusha, it had to be on the shulchan. And the shulchan only got a shem shulchan on Shabbos. So it's a very nice shakla v'tarya based upon a shtickle brisket Torah. Again, I don't know if it's true, guys. This is all what I was thinking about when I was learning my son Simcha today. And I just think it does explain certain things. Ari, you good with this in Puerto Rico? You look perturbed. You good? Are you drinking down there? You having a little rum? I think that's no rum. No. Okay. So I want to make sure. You're not drinking?
Are you kidding? Everything but everything, right? Everything but rum.
Everything but rum. Okay, good. It's good to hear your voice. You can close yourself now. Anyway, says the Gemara. Just wanted to make sure you were okay. Geschmack. So it says the Gemara right there. And Kidiktani Sefer, like we learned in the Sefer, for Loyas HaMenoira, Ella b'shiva ne'eraseh bein ha'abayim. As we learn in the Sefer, the Loyas HaMenoira, the Sefer that says, and not the Menorah, and it says in the Sefer, for the Menorah is not mechunich, the seven neiros bein ha'abayim, and so just like the Ma'aser Menorah is only bein ha'abayim, so too the Ma'aser of the Shulchan is only on Shabbos. Right? That's, guys, the diak. The Ma'aser of Menorah is only bein ha'abayim. The Ma'aser of what? Of the Shulchan, to go ahead to be the Shulchan, is only what? In other words, it's not a Menorah till bein ha'abayim. It's not a Shulchan till what? Till Shabbos. A beautiful Gemara. Tan Rabbanan. Okay. Zeu kitoirish also liyachid al mizbeach. Kafachas malaya kitoiris. Parachad, right? The Nesiim, guys. The Nesiim. We never think about it, but what the Nesiim did by the Miluim are very unique. Where did they burn the kitoiris, guys? On the Mizbeach HaChitzai. When did they burn the kitoiris? On the Mizbeach HaChitzai, on the outside Mizbeach, not on the inside Mizbeach. A Yachid cannot bring kitoiris. As we're going to see, even a Tzibur can't bring kitoiris on the outside Mizbeach. So there are a few unique Hayroah Shah that took place b'shas the Nesiim. Few unique halachas. Says the Gemara. Zeu kitoiris also the Yachid al Mizbeach HaChitzai by Rosh Hashanah. There was a Rosh Shah that by and Heicha Amar Papa bin Nesiim. A Nasi who was a Yachid, Hayroah Shah, was able A, to be a Yachid to bring kitoiris, and B, bring it on Mizbeach HaChitzai and not the Mizbeach Hazav. Guys, Mizbeach Hazav is also known as Mizbeach HaKetoiris, right? It was known as Mizbeach HaKetoiris. That's good for what it was for. It was for the Mizbeach HaKetoiris. It's Eli Yachid al Mizbeach HaChitzai hu deloi. Mashma Yachid can't bring on the Mizbeach HaChitzai. Ha al Mizbeach HaPnimi Makriv. That's not true. But we'll see. Guys, the diak. You can't bring a Yachid can't bring on the Mizbeach HaChitzai, but he could bring on the Mizbeach Hazav. V'su al mizbeach hachitzon yachid hu hatziba makrivai. So two diukim, guys, outside. You're saying that the yachid on mizbeach hachitzon is a rasha. Yachid on mizbeach hazav would seem to be okay. Yachid on mizbeach hachitzon is, but the tzibur on mizbeach hachitzon would be okay. In both cases, it's not true, right? In both cases, it's not true. A yachid on mizbeach hazav is no good, and a tzibur on mizbeach hachitzon is no good. It says the Gemara Tanya. Yachid, I might think, hey, yachid misnadev. A yachid could make an adava. Umevi, right? Umevi and bring ketairis, kiyotzeba, the dava, v'kareniba, mitzis v'secha tishmar, v'sisa, tamad loymar. Leisalu love ketairis zara. You shouldn't be going to what? A ketairis zara. And this is considered, a yachid would be considered what? A zar, right? Even when he makes an adava. Yachal, I might think, lo yehe yachid, maybe, right? Benedava, she'ei maybe b'chevasa kiyotzeba, because we don't find it can bring it on the days. Aval siba yehi maybe shemi chayve kiyotzeba, but at siba we see that we think that siba could bring benedava because they bring every day a chayv. Guys, it's a carbon siba that the ketoris is bought single every day. So since I would think that the carbon siba is bought every day b'chayva, I could bring it as an adava. I could bring tamad loyma. So what's kiyotzeba tamad loyma leisalu? It says leisalu is mashma lashon rabim, not leisaleh. Leisalu is you is lashon rabim. That they can't do. Maybe that tzibur could be on the carbon, on the mizbeach hazav. Tamalayma eshemen amishcha v'esketaris hasamim lekodesh k'chol asher tzivisicha yasu. Ein lecha ela masha oimer b'inyan. So whatever I tell you, whatever it says in the inyan, and it says that you can only bring the ketaris what on the mizbeach v'esketaris hasamim lekodesh. You can only bring it where on the mizbeach what ha pnimi. You cannot bring it on mizbeach ha chitzon. Amra Papa says the Gemara. So the chayra you have a kasha. What's a kasha, guys? What was the diak? Right? What was the diak? Yachid again. Yachid not, but mizbeach zav yeah, sibur not on the mizbeach chitzon yes. Let me boy come on. Says right. Let me boy shet sibur al mizbeach chitzon toli ashkechin. You never found anything. You never found that sibur al mizbeach chitzon. We only find the yachid on mizbeach chitzon. We only find the nesiyim on mizbeach chitzon. We never find the rabbim on mizbeach chitzon. Let me boy yachin on mizbeach pnimi del yashchen. You never find the yachin mizbeach pnimi. You don't find that sibur on the outside. You never find the yachin on the inside. So let me boy yachin al mizbeach pnimi del yashkechen. El afilu yachin al mizbeach chitzon. A yachin mizbeach in the ashkechen b'nesiyim harasha haisa. That the ketoris, the yachin mizbeach chitzon that you do find, don't think for a second you can do it. It was a rasha. And for future generations, you could not do it. You can never. Let me boy that the tzibur can't bring outside. Let me boy that a yachid can't bring inside. But you might think that what? Since you find yechidim on the outside, you could bring Kimash Malon Hayrashah. It was a one-time deal by the Nesiim, but never more. You'll never bring on Mizbeach. So Paris, you'll never bring Ketaris on Mizbeach HaChitzain. A Yochid will never bring on Mizbeach HaZahav. A Tzibur cannot bring in a Dove on Mizbeach HaZahav. The only thing that can be born on Mizbeach HaZahav is what? Is the Ketaris, Bein HaBaiker, Ubein HaBayim, and in addition, you're going to put blood on it in Yom Kippur by the Helm Davar and by the Kayin HaMashiach. Okay, very good. Says the Mishnah. Okay, the pasuk says, fellas, the pasuk says, Al machvas b'shemet teyaseh murvechas teviyena tufen. No, that's not the pasuk I want. Zeh korban Aaron ubanav asher yakrivu Hashem. This is the korban Aaron ubanav asher yakrivu Hashem. Biyomi mashach the day that they're anointed. Asira sefer soiles mincha tamid machtzisa b'boiker u'machtzisa b'erev. So every single day, the Kohen Gadol guys would bring an isaron of flour, chatzi in the morning and chatzi in the afternoon. This is called the chaviti shel Kohen Gadol. So I thought it'd be nice to when you find a unique mitzvah, guys. It's always nice to look in the Sefer HaChinuch to see exactly what the svara is. Okay. You can all see Hebrew letters, right? Mitzvah korban mincha shel kohen gadol b'chol yom. Shenitztavinu sheyakriv hakohen hagadol mincha b'chol yom pamayim. Kohen gadol brings a mincha every single day. B'boiker in the morning ube'emen arbayim. Shneimar zeh korban Aaron ubanov asher yakrivu l'Hashem. Now the guys, the banov would bring it the day they're starting, the day Yimashach Esai. In other words, the day of the inauguration, they would bring it. Then after that, no, forevermore, no more. The Kohen Gadol will bring it every day. This is considered the chavitim of the Kohen Gadol, and it's a korban mincha. Minchas Kohen Mashiach. It's called so chaviti Kohen Gadol, and another name is called Minchas Kohen Mashiach. Misharsei mitzvah. What's the shirish of the mitzvah? Lefi she'akohen hagadol hu ashliach ben Yisrael avin shever shemayim. Kloimar ki hu what does it mean is the shliach? Ki hu anoisei tefillah alav ba'adam. He carries the tefillah for them. Val yidei tefillah isav, through his tefillah u'maisa korban isav he mischaprim. So from the Kohen Gadol's tefillah and his kabbanis, it's a kapara for Klal Yisrael. Therefore, this person, because of his unique position as the one who goes ahead and brings a kapara for Klal Yisrael and tefillah for Klal Yisrael, he should bring his unique korban. Kimai timidi at tzibur, just like the korbanos of the tzibur. Just like every day there's a tamid for the tzibur, so too every day there's a tamid for the Kohen Gadol. And just like Tmidim are twice a day, Nischayev hu gam kein lahakriv min chosei pamayim b'yoyim. Ulchol ze nismach al atam shamarna b'karbin k'dei she'yisayru kol machshavaisav. He said earlier the reason for kabbanis is in order to misayra the machshavais v'yasim daitoi v'kavanasoi etzel Hashem b'sbarach. It's the center and focus is ulmanzois yoylo lehem, and it'll help for him and them. Vein safik shein doimes ayris adam k'shemakriv karbonam yuchad loi. It's without a shadow of a doubt, a person, when he brings a korban for himself, that's unique for himself, it's going to be what? It's going to be more, it's going to be more focused, I guess. Rather than what? A korban that he's a partner with. That's why do we say, guys? Two guys, two cooks. You have cold. If you have two guys who are doing something, you're both not focused totally because you focus. There's the other guy. But if you're the only game in town, there's a total focus. And there's no reason to go ahead and be marach in this. So says the Minchas, the Sefer HaChinuch, a reason for the Chavita Kohen Gadol is that it's his conduit of tefillah, it's a conduit of kapara, and just like the korban tamid is brought for us every single day, twice a day, who are then the Chavita Kohen Gadol. So we begin now the sugya of the Chavita Kohen Gadol, right? Okay. Says the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. Chavita Kohen Gadol loichoyu boin chatzayin. You didn't bring half an isaron. Ela maybe isaron shalom. You bring it fully isaron. V'chaitzeyu, and then you would go ahead and divide it. So in other words, you could easily say you bring a half in the morning. Again, he's bringing from his house. You can bring half in the morning and half in the afternoon. You can bring half in the morning and half in the afternoon. That's not the case. What you're going to do is you're going to bring a full isaroin and then divide it up. You're not going to bring half and half. You're going to bring a whole and half the whole. You're going to bring a whole and half the whole. That's what you're going to do. Okay. Maybe Yisrael Shalom v'chatzeu makriv mechza b'boike u'mechza ben arbayim. Kohen shemevi mechza shachris umeis. Kohen goes ahead. He brings his half in shachris. He dies. Umini kohen acher, and you tachtav. You point another kohen gadol. Lo yavi chatzi sar mi beisai. You don't say, well, half was bought already, so let him bring what? A half from his house. Ella, what does he do? He right. V'chatzi sar and shal rishon. And you know, he's going to bring half, and you have half of the first guys. Ella maybe sar and shalem. V'chaitzeyu. You bring a full isaron, you divide that up. And makriv mechza, u'mechza ovid, and half's going to be lost. Nimsa shnei chatzayin krevim u'shnei chatzayin ovdim. Nimsa, you're going to have two. You're going to have half brought and Ruvain the Kohen Gadol brings a full Isarin. He brings half in the morning. Consequently, he's niftar. He still has left over half from his carbon. Shimon takes his place. He brings a full Isarin. He brings half. So now you have Ruvain's half and Shimon's half that you don't need, and you have Ruvain's that was brought and Shimon's that was brought. Nimsa, half was brought and half is avad, and half you're going to go ahead and burn, right? Half you can't bring. Okay. Tan Rabbanan. Ilu nema mincha machzis. If it would have said the word mincha machzis, hayisi oimer, I would have said, maybe chatzi sara mi beisai shachris, bring half in the morning for shachris, umakriv, chatzi sara mi beisai arvis umakriv. If it would have just said mincha machzis, I would say half. Tamaloima machzisa babayker umachzisa be'erev. Again, the lashon is asira se'efa soilas mincha tamid machzisa babayker machzisa be'erev. So what do? Mechza mishalim umakriv. You go ahead and you bring hair from a hole. Haketzad maybe sarin shalem. You bring a fully sarin. V'chaitzeu umakriv mechza babayker umechza ben abayim. Good. Nitma mechza shal ben abayim oisha avad. Let's say he brought a full isarin. He brought half in the morning. The remaining half became tamei. The remaining half became lost. What do? Yachol yavi chatzi sarim mi beisai arvis v'yakriv. I might think you bring half a sarim from his house and be makriv it. Tamad loymar machtzisa v'boika machtzisa v'erev mechza mishalim hu mevi. Haketzad mevi isar shalem. He's going to bring in isar shalem mi beisai v'chetzeu umachriv mechza aved nimsu shnei chetzayim krevim shnei chetzayim oivdim. Okay, guys, what happened? Outside. He went ahead, he bought a fully sarin. He bought half, lost the half, or the half became tummy. He doesn't bring another half. He brings another whole. And from that whole, he's going to bring half. Nimsa, you're going to have a half tummy and a half lost. And you're going to be, the same thing as with Kohen Gadol died. You're going to have a leftover sarin and a fully sarin that was brought. But you're never going to bring, guys, just the half. You're always going to bring machzisa. Machzisa means a half made from a sholem. You bring machzis from a sholem. That's what you're doing. Kohen Gadol sheikriv mechza shachris umeis uminu achet tachtav yachol yavi chatzi sarin mibeisov. I might think he brings half from his house, a chatzi sarin shal rishon, or he brings in our case, guys, Shimon will bring Reuven's half. Guys, Shimon will bring Reuven's half. Why don't you do that, right? Reuven died. You still have a leftover half, and the chayrid has kedushas haguf, right? Because it was in a klish, it was in a klisharef. So why don't you go ahead and let Shimon, the new Kohen Gadol, bring Reuven's. Tamaloimu machtzisa be'erev mechza mishalem hu mevi umakriv haketzad maybe yisrael shalom v'chetzeu umakriv mechza umakriv umechza avad nimsu shnei chatzayim oivdim u'shnei chatzayim krevim. In other words, you have to bring, it has to be a hair from a hole. It has to be a hair from a hole. So therefore, he has to bring a full half. He has to bring a full whole. He can't be samech on the half of the remaining guy, of the previous guy. Hani Tana Kamed Rav Nachman. Mechza Rishon and Mechza Sheni, two Batsurasain. The leftover from Ruvain and the new from Shimon. You have to, what does Avad mean? You have to wait overnight for it to lose its appearance. Make it leaner. And then burn it. B'yatz lebeis hasreifa. Omer of Nachman. Bishlema Rishon. Very good. Shimon, Ruvain. Ichse lak Rava. When he went ahead and he did half and he was alive, the second half was Roy lak Rava. So I can understand why you have to wait for Ubatzurasa. Elasheni, but Shimon, Lama le Ibatzura. Why do you have to go ahead and wait? to go ahead and burn the second half. Meikar leibad kasi. He knew when he was bringing that whole, he's only going to use the half. So you should burn it right away. Bishlema Shimon Ruvain's. When Ruvain bought his half, the other half was seen to be Abayim. Unfortunately, Ruvain is no longer with us. MMA what you can't bring his half. Masha'enke, Shimon's other half, you knew when he was bringing that whole, you only needed a half. You only needed the first half for him. The other half was what? Was going. So why do you need Ibit Surasa? You should go ahead and burn it right away. So, the Amalacha money, Amalacha money, Tana, the Bay Rabbi Avuhi. The Tana is the Tana Rabbi Avuhi. The Amar, Afilu Pigel Tayin Ibit Surah. Even Pigel, you have to wait. So just like Pigel, you have to wait, over here you have to wait as well, right? Over here, just like Pigel, that you know you won't be able to eat it, right? You will know it's Pigel, you won't be able to eat it. So Hu Adin over here, right? Yeah. Look at Rashi. Afilu Pigel, the puzzle Gomahu, it's a psul of karis, who puzzle the Raisahu, Tayin Surah, right? It's mashma over here, it's not a psul the Raisa, which is interesting. I thought it is psul the Raisa. No, it's not really puzzle, guys. You just can't need it. Guys, over here, when you being the second, it's not puzzle. You just no need for it. Guys, outside. What's the kasha? Shimon's second half was never going to be used in the first place. So why do you need ibit surasa, right? Just go ahead and burn it. You're never going to use it. What's the answer? Even pigel, which is more chama, which this is deraisa, requires ibit surah. Certainly this, which is not it's a deraisa, is not puzzle at all. It's just you don't need it. Wouldn't require ibit surah. That would be the svar over here. So that's the first teretz. That teretz is of it's going to the yeshiva of Rabbi Avua. Ravashi Amafilu Tem Rabbanon. You can even say it's the Rabbanon. That what? And you still need ibit surasa. The beidna de palgi behu iboy high makriv iboy high makriv michsa chazi. Fellas, when this bought the whole, guys, look at me. He brought a whole that he only needs half. So when he halved it, could he brought either half? Yeah, he brought Mimela, the second half that you didn't use was Michsa Chazi. It wasn't used, but it was seen. Mimela, it needs Ibit Surasa. Meaning it's no different than Ruvain. Just like Ruvain, the second half was designated for the afternoon. When he went ahead and divided it, either one could have been used in the afternoon. Says Rav Ashi, that's why you need Ibit Surasa, and you can't burn it right away. Okay, we'll stop over here.